ప్రేమ స్వరూపులారా, విద్యార్థులారా,
Welcome to InSAIde Scoop, a podcast that brings you practical servings of Swami's sweetest teachings. Today we speak with Sister Prakrithi from my favorite country in the world, Malaysia. She is the deputy co-lead of SSILP, which is the International Leadership Program. And she is currently pursuing a PhD in brain cancer at Monash University, Malaysia. Welcome, sis. I am so happy to be having a conversation with you today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so grateful for the opportunity and I'm looking forward to the conversation with you.
Great. So as usual, we're starting the session with the third speed samsara segment, and we are playing the game Never Have I Ever. And I just watched the Never Have I Ever show, so your answers better be as good as the show, okay?
Okay, I hope so.
All right, first one. Never have I ever deleted a post, photo, or video because it didn't get enough likes or reactions.
No.
Never have I ever laughed at a joke that you didn't think was funny just to be liked.
Oh, yes.
Was that you laughing at my lame Never Have I joke earlier? Was that one?
No, definitely not. But yeah, just to feel like you fit in, have I laughed at a joke that wasn't funny? Yes.
Okay. Never have I ever checked a friend's phone without them noticing to see if they had another group chat without me?
No.
Yeah, that's a bit extreme. Never have I ever gone, but we're not judging. Never have I ever gone to a gathering or party that you were not invited to?
No.
Okay. Never have I ever done something you now regret due to peer pressure?
Not that I think so, no. No.
Okay. Never have I ever gone in or had money issues because I didn't want to miss out on an event?
No.
Never have I ever posted a photo or video online without the intention of expecting comments?
Yes.
Never have I ever said something or failed to say something in the moment in order to fit in, which I regretted later?
Yes.
Never have I ever deliberately changed your accent to fit in with the crowd?
Definitely yes. It started off as, people feeling easier to understand me.
Yeah.
And then I think it just became second nature.
Yeah. Pretended to like something because everyone else you knew did, like a food cuisine or a television show?
Yeah.
Never have I ever felt physically exhausted but never let myself rest because I didn't want to miss the event. Okay. Never have I ever edited a photo so much before posting in order to get more likes or views?
No.
Dressed or dolled up a certain way that made you feel uncomfortable in order to fit in?
No.
Okay. Wow, nice. Very nice. I think from the game we could tell that you might have experienced a little bit of FOMO throughout your life and wanting to fit in. But I want to know more about any kind of FOMO that you experienced that affected you in a pretty significant way. Would you be able to share?
Sure. I think FOMO started off with me being a child because I would never sleep after my mom put me down and she went away to do things. I always wanted to be a part of whatever she was doing or the adults were up to. So in that sense, I think I definitely, to the dismay of my mom, I did not sleep enough.
Right.
And in school, I certainly wanted to be a part of friends group, for example.
Right.
Wanting to be a part of a particular clique for whatever reason, that. And I think it was more of wanting to have a group that I can belong to. And yes, of course, I was upset a lot of times when I was left out from certain things that they were doing, or, even perhaps when they went for outings and left me out, I was disappointed. That's definite for sure.
Right.
But then then later on in life, I think, when I started using social media more, for example, if let's say I posted something and then another friend posted something, and then the third friend chose to repost what my friend posted and not what I posted, there was definitely feelings of being upset or annoyed or like, oh, how could she do this? So yeah, it has definitely had an impact in my life for sure.
Right. I totally relate to all those experiences you shared. I'm wondering, why do you think we experience FOMO? What could be some of those reasons for fearing that we are missing out?
Okay, so going back to the examples that I shared with you earlier, right? Not sleeping was probably curiosity, wanting to find out what other people were up to and wanting to be a part of all of the activities that were going on. And I'm sure I still have a bit of that FOMO still in certain ways.
Right.
And then in school, wanting to have that sense of belonging, wanting to have a group of friends who you could rely on, who you thought were the right people for you. So maybe in some sense that could have been seeking validation because I did not accept who I was, that I required other people to accept who I was.
Right.
Probably a lack of contentment of, just being by myself without needing to have a group of friends. And probably also not really living in the present.
I completely agree with you, Prag. I think it's very normal to want validation. And sometimes it's even healthy because, we all deserve to have good relationships, healthy relationships, and feel a sense of belonging. And quality of those relationships are important.
Sure.
And I think it's normal because from a very young age, we are taught what is right and wrong through validation, through reward versus punishment. So when we did well, our parents would be like, fantastic, so proud of you, well done. And when we conformed to expectations, and when we didn't, we would be reprimanded or scolded. So that need for positive validation was nurtured at a very young age.
Yes.
Or it was done through comparison, whether through the education system or parenting style. We were taught that we can only judge where we stand by reference to others, not by what we needed or what we wanted. So I think it's really normal to want validation because of the conditioning we've had ever since we were children. But that brings me to the next question. What degree, because we all require relationships and it's healthy to have good, stable relationships and a sense of belonging. But what degree of validation is healthy and what degree is unhealthy? Do we really need the opinions of our colleagues and friends and family? So I'm going to give you examples to help break down the question. For example, is posting on social media or LinkedIn for likes and comments, is that healthy?
Okay, so I can break this down into two categories, right? If you are an influencer and you have to do it for your bread and butter, it's what brings you money at the end of the day, then I guess, fair enough. And on the other hand, there's us normal people who are not exactly influencers, but we are still posting. I guess there's nothing wrong in posting, but what really is important is the intention behind posting what we are posting. Are we posting because we want people to give us likes or to comment on our posts, or are we doing it because we want to put things out there? And this sort of, having that reasoning and knowing why you are posting it, that really helps put into perspective whether it is good or it is bad for us.
Right. So what sort of intentions, just to play devil's advocate, would be okay or healthy in this scenario of posting? Like when you say just put it out there, what do you mean by that?
Are we posting it because I really like this picture of me and I want to share it with the world?
Right.
Or are we posting it because I want other people to tell me that I am looking very beautiful, or my haircut is really nice, or my makeup is done really well? So which is the reasoning?
That is very
Because if we follow the second one, right, it is more of seeking validation.
Right.
Whereas the first one, we know that we are okay, we are fine, I am happy with who I am, and I'm just posting it to share it with the world.
Great. Okay, second scenario, wanting constructive feedback from superiors at work. Is that kind of validation healthy?
Okay, so I guess when you start off, it is healthy. And before we talk about whether it's healthy or not, when it comes to seeking validation from superiors, I think it's very important for us to have a discussion with our superiors beforehand to know that I will be doing this, because this is what is expected of me in my job description. And also to know what is the job description of your superior, because then you can set boundaries and say, this is what I expect of you, and also know what your superiors expect of you. And by setting those boundaries and guidelines, I think we can manage our expectations better, because in that sense, right, we know that, okay, if I do this correctly, my supervisor will tell me that, okay, she did a good job, and we are not expecting something that is not there. And I can actually share an example with you of how this worked in my life, right? So my PhD project, when I started off, I was doing a different project under a different group of supervisors. And unfortunately, we did not set these boundaries at the start. So we sort of just did things on the go. And I remember I was preparing for one of my milestones, and I had to come up with a PowerPoint presentation as well as a report for that particular milestone. And while I was doing that, we realized that the story which I was presenting did not really have a very good flow. So then my supervisors told me, they said, why don't you try and read up and try to find a way that you can connect this particular part in your story so that it flows better. So I said, okay, I'll go back, do the reading and everything. And in the next meeting that we had, I presented a better version. At least to me, I thought it was a better version. It made sense in my head, and I presented it to them. So they were happy with it. Nobody had any additional comments. And then I went for my milestone. And I presented the same way that I did in the practice run with my supervisors. And after I finished my presentation, usually they would ask the supervisors to share some feedback about what they think about my progress. And so one of my supervisors said, I don't think you've read enough or you've synthesized any information properly. I think you need to read more. And I was really taken aback by this because he could have told me at a previous stage that, oh, you had to do this a little better, and I would have worked on it. But then this was in a public forum where there were other people attending my milestone, and he thought it was okay for him to say all of these things. So in that sense, I was really upset. And I don't think I took it very well because, of course, after the meeting, I cried. And then I went to another supervisor and I spoke to him and I said, well, I don't know if there's a lot of truth in what he said, but if it is true, what are the ways that I can sort of improve myself? So I wanted to ask him that.
Right.
And he said, okay, let's forget about the feedback that this supervisor provided to you. And let's just say that I'm going to present to you different sets of information today. And I want you to take this as an exercise to see for yourself whether you have the capacity to synthesize information. So he provided probably 5 or 6 sets of different information. And he said, tell me, how do you think all these 5 pieces connect to one another? And so I thought about it and I told him, okay, I think it flows from 1 to 3 to 4 to 5 and so on and so forth. And when I said that, he said, see, do you think you have a problem synthesizing? You got it right. So I don't think there is a lot of truth in what he said. He just said it so that he does not have to take the brunt of it to because when you are showing everybody your research and the story doesn't flow properly, usually the blame goes to the supervisor for not providing guidance. And he did not want to take that blame upon himself, which is why he threw the blame onto you. And I guess, in this situation, thinking about it now, I realized that there were two things. One, I needed to see who I was receiving this feedback from. Did that person actually know how much of effort I put into synthesizing information? That supervisor did not. And the second thing, if I for a fact knew that my capacity of synthesizing information was amazing, I would not have been affected by his comment. So in this situation, I think there are two aspects that we need to look at. Is the feedback coming from somebody who really knows us? And do we have the confidence in ourselves? And so if the answer is yes to both, and you think there is truth in that feedback, then yes, the validation, seeking validation there's nothing wrong in it.
Right.
But if it was the case in which I shared the example earlier, then it wasn't good for me.
That's very powerful, sis. So even when we're seeking that constructive feedback at work, there has to be a baseline of how well we know ourselves and our performance at work and what our strengths and weaknesses are before we try and, seek that external feedback. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's very helpful. Next situation, wanting your parents' or close friends' opinions on life choices. For example, a person you're going to marry, or whether you should switch jobs, or it could even be more trivial decisions.
Okay, so again, I am going to share two scenarios with you, right?
Okay, sure.
And the first scenario is one that one of my friends has shared with me. So she has a very toxic relationship with her mother, in the sense that her mother has a set of expectations. You have to complete a degree by this age. You have to only do engineering, because I did not have the capacity and the opportunity to do engineering when I was younger. And so she pushed my friend to do engineering when my friend was not really keen in doing engineering. And then later on in life, she also told her, oh, you are already much older, you have to get married, you have to settle down, you have to have kids, and you have to do all of these things, as if life was just a checklist and you have to take everything. So in that case, seeking validation for my friend from her mother was not very helpful for her, because she felt that engineering was not her field. It was not something that she was really passionate about, and she wanted to do architecture instead. And then she realized architecture was not her thing. She thought, okay, actually fashion design is my thing. And now finally she's doing a degree in fashion design, and she's so much more happier than when she was doing architecture from before. So when we take this situation, for my friend, seeking validation from her parent was not really helpful to her. In the case of all of us who have loving parents who say, do whatever you want, be whatever you want, I guess seeking validation from them is not wrong. So it depends on the context and the situation, as well as what is your relationship with your parent per se. So that really impacts on whether the validation is right or wrong.
Right. Okay. So again, I'm hearing that it depends on not just the proximity of the relationship, but whether that person has your best interest at heart and not some ulterior motive, and also whether that person knows you well enough to know what do you want and what are your strengths, and so would these decisions be in line with those, and so they just are an extension of who you are, rather than projecting their own desires and their own ulterior motives on you. Okay, understood.
Exactly.
Now my next question is, how can we overcome an excessive need for external validation?
Okay. This goes back to what you just said. Knowing what we are, who we are, and being really content with who we are. So that comes from knowing our strengths and weaknesses, and also being very happy with who we are. That's coming back to contentment, right? And Swami often says we are three people: the one who we think we are, the one who others think we are, and the one who we truly are. And if we break that down, the one who we truly are is the one who has a particular set of skills, who is good at certain things, not so great at certain things, but also we are that spark of divinity. And sometimes we forget it, sometimes we remember it, but to know who we truly are and be happy with who we truly are, I think that is what really helps us overcome this FOMO.
Right. Okay, great. And have you practiced mirror work, right, sis? Do you think that was a useful tool in helping you get to know yourself better and also change your perceptions about yourself? If they did, would you mind explaining to everyone what mirror work was like for you and what it involves?
Sure. So I think mirror work was extremely helpful for me in the sense that there were two parts of it. One was the meditation and visualization along with affirmations.
Right.
And that in a way sets a tone for us to know that I am enough, I am happy, I am content, to tell ourselves that so that we remember, because sometimes we forget these things when we're going through life. So that was really helpful for me to remember that I am all of these things. It is just that I have forgotten, and to remind myself that I am good at what I do, I have all of the things that I need in my life, and I am enough.
Right.
The other thing that I found really helpful with mirror work was the journaling part of it, because sometimes you have a lot of things that are in your head, and putting it down on paper sort of helps you relieve whatever you are keeping within your head. And also what it did was, because along with the meditation, sometimes I would think that, okay, I've done the meditation today, but I realized that I have this particular issue that I still need to work on, right? But I don't really have the tools to work with it. So let me give you an example. I remember a couple of weeks ago, probably maybe a month ago, I'm not exactly sure about the timeline, I was going to have dinner with a group of friends. And everybody said they could make it. And the day before the event, one of my friends said that, oh, sorry, I can't make it. So we said, okay, we can change it to another date. And would that date work for you? And she said, oh no, I'm really busy. It's okay. All of you can just carry on without me. And so I was a bit upset because, we had planned this for a very long time and everybody had given their specific times when they were available for the meeting, and we had taken all of that into account, and yet this person says that she cannot make it. And so I was so upset about it, but at the same time I felt like, well, this is something that I need to work on, and I don't think it is just this situation that is actually causing this uneasiness within me. And so I thought, okay, let me just put this feeling aside, because I can't really pinpoint where it is coming from. So I wrote it down, and then I thought, let me come back to it when I have the time. And so maybe a week later or so, as I was doing a mundane task, I was probably washing dishes or something, and a realization came to me where it was interactions probably in my school years when I felt that there were a group of girls who were creating a clique behind my back and excluding me. And these emotions, because I had not processed them back when I was younger, came up again when this girl decided that she did not want to join me for dinner.
Right.
So when I think about it this way, I realized that it had nothing to do with her not wanting to come.
Yeah.
But the whole point was I had not processed my emotions from before. And in some ways, I feel that mirror work is extremely powerful in healing our inner child, as well as all of these issues that we've sort of swept under the carpet, if I may say so. It brings to light all of these areas that we need to work on so that we can be the best version of ourselves.
Excellent tips, Prak. Thanks so much. And yes, mirror work is a great tool for learning about ourselves with greater precision. For those who are interested to know more, just search the book Mirror Work by Louis Hay, and Google will tell you everything you need to know. Dear listeners, it's now time for some prasadam pills. 1. FOMO, the fear of being disliked, the fear of being not enough, the fear of being unpopular, often stems from insecurities and a lack of acceptance of ourselves or our circumstances. 2. The antidote lies in deep, consistent, precise self-knowledge and self-love. When we question every belief, every fear, every strength and weakness, we develop an abundance of intrinsic self-understanding, love and acceptance. The mind then stops comparing and starts learning. So even if we look to others, it is only to help us along our path. There is no more fear, envy, or resentment for their journey, but only gratitude, inspiration, and happiness for our own journey. 3. The only approval we truly need is that of our inner, truest self. Until next Friday, happy scooping!